So, this season premiere wasn't a two-parter, but two unrelated episodes. Way to double my workload, DHX! Now I have to do two videos.
Yeah. Although, are you pondering what I'm pondering, Tricky?
Sure thing, Gray. I would love to eat some sea-salted ice cream on the clock tower.
No! We should do a two-part collab. One video on your channel and one on mine. So, which episode do you want on your channel?
Do you have a coin?
Sure, I'll take... Hey, get back here!
Friendship used to make me so queasy, but you made it
Give me back my money, you stupid fox! The hell?
Sorry, I already spent it on the way here. You really are out of shape, you know that?
Did you just call me fat?
Maybe, but we have more important things to do, like reviewing an episode.
Okay, just let me catch my breath. I'm not a racehorse, you know. Oh. Considering that the first episode was a single-part season premiere, this is the first standalone episode of the season.
We start things off in the kitchen, where Starlight is trying to bake something and Trixie's inventing new memes. So I guess this means Trixie officially joins the main cast.
Seems so. Although this could solve the whole main 6 versus main 7 question.
What do you mean?
We'd have a new category of character roster. We have main 6, the Kyodima Crusaders, and now we got... let's call them Misfits. And somewhere in between there's Spike. The Misfits, as I call them, would be the characters that can openly have what you could consider the lesser traits without going out of character.
Like what?
Yay, Trixie! You're so great at magic and having good hair!
Never mind. Also, is it just me or does Trixie have a strange obsession with snacks? First peanut butter crackers, now pretzels and cinnamon nuts. I tell you, she will become the Alicorn Princess of Snacks someday. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. However, considering that Starlight still lives with Twilight, I hope the writers actually incorporate her in episodes that don't just focus on her. Even if she's not part of the main group, it would feel out of place if we never see her around like in season 6.
So as the main 6 go away under friendship retreat, Starlight teaches Trixie some basics of advanced magic. I like that. Even though Starlight technically graduated, she's still self-teaching herself, and she has Trixie as her less talented study buddy. In teaching, this is a common trick. It's not just so the more talented student tutors the other one, but they also learn some social skills as well to adjust their pace to others. It's a bit like a teaching version of rubber banding.
Well, that band seems like it's going to break at any moment. Trixie is really testing Starlight's patience. It is obvious from the get-go that Starlight never showed Trixie a limit of how far she can go. Trixie even says that later. Starlight never gets mad with her. But the idea of Starlight giving Trixie magic lessons is pretty cute and offers a lot of potential for both to play each other off.
Meanwhile, at the main 6 location.
The girls arrive at their location, which, instead of being a spa, seems to be some sort of room where they need to solve puzzles in order to escape.
You mean like the Cube? Does anybody remember this movie? It was made 20 years ago. It had sequels. Anybody?
Never watched it. In any case, I think it's interesting to learn that the record for this team building exercise was set up by Griffins, with Rainbow Dash pointing out that they are usually rather bad team players. While we don't see them directly, it is pretty cool to see that some Griffins are in fact able to form a strong bond of friendship and do stuff like this.
I'm just more curious if it's all they do there. I mean, to travel a long way to spend an hour in a room doesn't seem worth it. And how much did they pay for it anyway? Or did Twilight fund it from the government spending?
That's what I'm talking about. The stereotypical Griffin wouldn't waste money on something like this. They simply were looking for a good time. Anyway, let's just get back to the other group, where Trixie just teleported the map away. Seriously, why is the map getting all so abused? First it was hacked, then Changelings put their hooves on it, and now Trixie sent it to who knows where.
I'm just realizing why Trixie's only good at illusionary magic. She most likely drove her previous teachers insane.
To contain her anger, Starlight decides to literally bottle up her anger-charged magic. Gee, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, there's your problem. You don't use a glass bottle for it. Here, solid Rutian iron, double sealed with blood magic and equestrian magic, will not leak unless you know the key.
Is that a red lantern?
Well, technically it's a red power battery, but I guess you can refer to it as a red lantern.
Why would you have something like this?
Well, for one thing, it makes a really nice source of heat during winter, makes you save a lot on firewood. But on the other hand, have you ever seen me angry?
Well, I took your coin and there was at one time I suggested you might be related to Cesti.
Well, that last one is still unclear. But have you ever seen me angry? Trust me, I don't like being angry, and as cliché it may sound, you don't want to see me angry. Trust me, you don't want to see me angry.
Okay, back to the episode. The fact that Starlight has to do it at all is pretty interesting. After all, we never saw something similar happen to Twilight. Starlight mentioned earlier that hair magic is directly affected by her emotions. This is the first time something like this was ever brought up. Sure, Twilight used some of her more powerful spells while being angry, but there was no indication that magic and emotions are directly tied to each other. I wonder if that could happen to any unicorn, or if it is because of Starlight's immense magical potential. It is also possible that Starlight actually uses a completely different form of magic, maybe something a bit more sinister, like dark magic. In any case, it probably only happens now because Starlight suppressed her anger and other negative emotions for quite some time.
That's an interesting way to put it. We know that magic can be influenced by emotions, as well as things like the unicorn's inherent potential and or stamina. So it's quite possible that Starlight has an affinity for one of those. But before we get any deeper into the nature of magic, we have something much more pressing on hand. Trying to backtrack Trixie's scattered thoughts.
Cue the montage.
So after visiting the nightstand, the jeweler, and Sweet Apple Acres, they seem nowhere near the map, and Starlight keeps on jarring her anger to the point she becomes fully emotionally drained, while Trixie is blissfully unfazed. This is exactly what I meant by saying characters that can openly have lesser traits. We are fully aware of the main six's flaws, and we've seen them work on them. However, with characters like Trixie, being obnoxious is a part of her character. While a lot of people say that during Boastbuster she had every right to boast about her show, in my opinion the problem was caused because at some point she started to use what could be considered a G-rated version of trash talking, which later got escalated. Trixie isn't so much mean on purpose like Diamond Tiara was, but rather she has no gauge on when she goes too far. You most likely had, or even was, that friend that had some quirk to their behavior, that was for the most part endearing, but on one or more occasions you just wanted to smack them upside the head. Trixie needs to learn to work on becoming more empathetic, elevate herself without putting others down in order to do so.
Of course her obnoxiousness is turned up to 11 for the sake of teaching a lesson. Well, and comedy. Trixie is at her core a rather egocentric person, but it doesn't really excuse how oblivious she is to the whole situation, which might turn off some people. In fact, we are talking about willing suspension of disbelief here. If you haven't noticed, the show likes to exaggerate character traits from time to time. It's the same as AJ's stubbornness defying any common sense. No one would really act this way, but it is meant to make a point. In this case, there are actually 2 points to be made. First of all, you shouldn't suppress your anger like Starlight did, and a good friend will understand your anger if they did something wrong. It is also meant to show that you have to set limits how far your friends can go. You have to show them that you are not okay with everything they are doing, otherwise they accidentally hurt you, or you might hurt them if you don't know their limits. And I think this episode did a pretty decent job portraying that. Once StarTrix started to bottle up her anger, she became constantly weaker, until she couldn't even stand on her own feet. She seemed ill. It is a strong clue that suppressing your own emotion is self-destructive, while accepting their anger is portrayed as rather healthy. She immediately got better, and it becomes apparent that there's nothing wrong about being angry with a friend for a good reason. And being angry doesn't mean that you can't forgive them. It is simply important that you talk things over.
And as fate has it, the bottle breaks and Trixie gets a full barrel of anger straight to her face. On the side note, is that the jeweler from Hearts and Hooves Day in Rule 63? Huh. Regardless, Trixie is faced with every bit of anger Starlight had towards her, but as you notice, it doesn't seem to fade away until Starlight herself takes it and allows it to fade away. This proves that you can't just pretend some emotions don't exist. You need to work with them. Either that, or it might end up with someone getting crushed by a nut cart.
Speaking of which, I thought he worked at the spa.
Ah! I'm late for my other job! What? I wear many hats.
Never mind. Well, as it turned out, Trixie teleported the map to the spa as it is the place where Starlight and Trixie first met. That's actually pretty sweet. Well, they return the map to the cast in the very last minute before Twilight and Co arrive. Now speaking of the main six, their subplot involving the escape room could be considered filler by some to pad out the running time, but I think it does serve a purpose. First of all, I think it was pretty funny. It lightened up the mood, and the song was pretty catchy. But most importantly, it contrasts Trixie's and Starlight's relationship throughout the episode. As Starlight suppressed her anger, her friendship with Trixie seems pretty toxic. The bond between the main six on the other paw shows how a healthy relationship should look like in comparison. It might have worked out a bit better if the two plots had more similar themes, but I still think it works.
Well, kind of. This felt a bit like two 15-minute episodes spliced together. Each of them seemed entertaining enough on itself, although the puzzle room would need a bit more conflict for it to work as a standalone. So do you have any final thoughts?
I think this episode's biggest strength is comedy. I laughed a lot the first time watching it, and that's always a good thing. I also like the lesson a lot. Sometimes it's okay to be angry with your friends. Just because they are your friends doesn't mean that you can't tell them your opinion. You shouldn't just ignore their flaws. And suppressing your emotions is never a good thing. This episode actually has some similarities to Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep, just with lower stakes, which might actually make this episode a bit better to teach this lesson. There's one flaw I have to point out though. It first seems like Spike is gonna be much more involved, but in the end he doesn't really do anything, which is a bit disappointing as Spike and Starlight usually play each other off quite nicely.
I agree. This episode had a lot of great comedy, as well as a really good moral. The whole anger in a bottle plot was easy to follow and straightforward, while stretching it to the length of a full episode would just introduce a lot of unnecessary padding. As for the main six being stuck in a room, I think it might have been much more funny if they got stuck in a regular hotel room, Marx Brothers style, that was somehow magic proof.
But what do you think?
He's Tricky Fox, and I'm Grey Silvermane. See you next time.